Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome you all. We are glad you are here for our webinar on the topic sales and operations, where to start, what is included in basic structure. My name is Sashma Best and I am a support officer for ASCI. This webinar will focus on some major points like sales and operations, implementation for beginners, basic structure and data set, challenges and solution to overcome them. Today, we are joined by Evgenia. She is an inventory and forecast manager at Kmart and Target. Before Kmart and Target, she worked with Brown and Watson International as a supply chain manager. Evgenia holds a master degree in management. She also has ASCM's CPIM, CSCP, and CLTD certifications. She has 20 plus years of experience in supply chain. She has been part of different industries like retail, automotive, manufacturing, and wholesale. Her expertise is in planning, inventory management, procurement, sales and operations, strategic vendor management, and logistics. It is a very great opportunity to learn from the session. Please ask questions and share your own experiences. Before we begin, let's review a few house rules to ensure everyone has a positive and productive experience. If you have any questions or comments, please use the Q&A box at the Zoom window. You can see that Q&A box on the Zoom window at the bottom. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded and will upload the recordings to our YouTube channel after the webinar. So we appreciate your cooperation and hope you enjoy the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. Now I will hand it over to Evgenia to start. Thank you so much, Evgenia, for giving us your time today. Over to you now.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the main point for today's webinar would be just to give some advice and practical tips for the medium and small-sized companies who are at the premature S&OP stage. So in other words, if you have been thinking about setting up a S&OP process, what you need to include, what tools can you use, what main data are you going to be presenting, who needs to be in the meeting, and how it's all going to work. There are a lot of resources available for the S&OP topic. Again, it has been around for more than 20 years by now. So it's a lot of content to go through, but based on the experience, there is pretty simple structure that can be followed, that can be easily implemented, and it gets support from all relevant stakeholders as well. So I will just start scrolling through the presentation. So this is just a summary about myself that Shushma has just taken and driven through. So S&OP cycle. So I am talking about very basic structure. There is no executive S&OP and pre-executive S&OP as well. That's because it's focused on the medium and small-sized businesses. So if we look at the 4-week breakdown in a month, so we're looking about mainly 4 meetings that need to be held every month. And the important point, all meetings ideally need to be booked 6 or 12 months in advance, and it should be absolute law in the company for everyone to attend those meetings. Because what usually happens is that S&OP gets implemented, everyone gets very enthusiastic about it, and after that it's sort of falling apart because everyone is too busy to actually go and attend the meetings. That's why the main challenge would be actually get support from the owners of the business to make sure that the process is treated with due respect. And everyone is attending the meetings and everyone understands how important they are. So on week 1, we would usually have portfolio review. And in the next slides, you will see I will provide detailed breakdown for each of the meetings, what needs to be done, who will be attending, and what sort of data need to be presented there. So coming back to this, so week 1 portfolio review. In a lot of businesses, it's also known as monthly business review. So they're pretty similar. So week 2, we have got demand review and supply review. And week 3, we have got inventory review. And week 4, normally, because nothing is happening. So it's a good opportunity to go and have set up separate meeting to follow up on the actions that are coming up from the previously held meetings and set up priorities for the next months. What would be the key focus for the same meeting structure, but happening in the next months. So with portfolio review, so basically, as I mentioned before, it's similar to the MBR. So you review performance of the key categories, sales performance for the business. However, in this specific aspect, it's the focus should be first, obviously, overall performance by key code, by class of the business. Also, top contributors, who actually, what are the most important classes for the business, what's driving our core range and everything, and also what is not, which categories are not performing according to expected budget and everything. So also market trends being discussed there, what has changed in the market, because as part of the S&OP is that it's execution tool for the basically for the strategy. It's actually to, at every certain meeting and every certain point of time, participants, stakeholders should be asking themselves a question: is our strategy still relevant? Are we still going that way? Or should we start making adjustments based on the latest market trends or based on the numbers that we see that, for example, performance for this category is suddenly declining? It was sort of, are we staying on top of it and we understand what's really happening there? Also, another very important point would be actually to highlight what went wrong, to be honest with yourselves, and go through these reasons and put corrective actions in place. So stakeholders would be normally brand or sales team, depending on what the company structure is. They will chair the meeting. Basically, the team who are responsible for strategy of placement of products in the market, not the execution, the one that actually comes up with the plan, which products are we going to be selling and how we're going to be selling. So that's the team that should be managing, that should be owning portfolio review. So stakeholders obviously will be senior management, depending on your structure is, but director of the business, CEO or CEO. So sales manager, demand planner, attendance is compulsory, in inventory manager and supply planners. So depending on what your business structure is, that, however, like in my examples, I will be referring to when the inventory manager is actually managing the team of demand and supply planners. But all of them are attending the meeting because what is going to be discussed there is going to have impact on both. For example, for demand planners, the main takeaway will be that, okay, certain classes are not performing to the expectation. It means that, okay, what demand adjustments do I need to be actioning through right now? And everyone is agreeing on this. So for the supply planners will be, for example, certain products are selling too fast, too quick. So should I be expediting the whole class about this? Obviously, for inventory manager, what the impact on the inventory is going to be. So with the context, so basically very simple graphs. So for every class, we're looking for every class and category, or if required, depending again how big the business is, you can also go on the top 10 key codes, for example, top 10 most like sellable key codes, top 100 key codes, but format is always the same. Actual sales versus budget, actual sales versus last year, and versus last year -1, if it's available. Again, if you're dealing in the if you're dealing in the market with the short life cycle products, obviously last year -1 sales might not be available. So, but it's all coming back to the what business you're running. So range plans for each category or the key codes or the class levels, and adjustments that are required, for example, based on the performance that are being discussed like in the every month. It will be important to know what were the reasons, what happened, why it happened, but the most important thing, okay, how is it going to impact execution of the whole strategy now for the business, and what everyone, all the stakeholders are going to do about that. Also, the portfolio review, it's important for the owners of the categories and brands to highlight the new product introductions, so which will be ideally on the SKU level basis. So it should cover what are the key codes, when are they expected to launch, So, and what are they replacing that will cover the supersession plans? Which key codes are going to be replacing? For example, in this case, for the demand planner, the obvious action would be, okay, I know I have got 10 key codes in this range, in range A, coming in 6 months' time, and they're going to be replacing 10 key codes in range B. I'm going to be taking on demand from range B and adding demand on range A. So that's the action for the demand planner. For supply planner would be, yep, I'm canceling, depending on how long the lead time, I'm canceling the open orders for the range A from the after the certain date, obviously start placing orders for the range B. For inventory manager, it will be, yep, we got 5 million coming in, 5 million coming out. So that's sort of the ideas that everyone should be looking at, like when they come to that meeting and when that section is covered for the new products. For also a plan for the exiting lines, for example, so due to some circumstances, we got a massive phase out or something, how it's going to impact. Here, it will be mainly for inventory impact. Make sure that this information is flowing through the whole cycle to the inventory management, and it's covered in one of the slides in the inventory review. So company and business can proactively track what was the plan on the clearance of the existing lines and whether we're actually on track to get them cleared by the certain date. Or if we are not, what are we actually doing about it to bring things on track? So with supersession plans, so as I mentioned, so just reconciliation, how many items are going to be replaced by which. The most important thing, or the most important takeaway from this meeting will be to see whether any adjustments are required to be made to the strategy and budget going forward. That's the main takeaway from here, and make sure that everyone is fully on track with what's happening and with what's going on, and whether and what needs to be reflected in the system to make sure that we all actually going and execute the same goal. So that's all for the portfolio review. So after that, we have got, now we are in week 2, and normally on the portfolio review, we present the last month's data. So performance, for example, we have it on 1st of May, we're covering from 1st of April to 30th of April. So for demand review, now we're in the week 2, so demand review, so the main purpose is make sure that all stakeholders are aligned about performance of the forecast. Here, I would have to specify that we are comparing forecast versus budget and forecast versus actual sales. In this case, forecast is representing export from the forecasting software, whichever you're using. If you're using Excel, you forecast Excel, fine. You use the other softwares, fine. But you comparing forecast from your software versus the budget. That's the main idea of this whole exercise. Basically, to make sure that, okay, does the forecast going forward still needs any adjustments, to make sure that when the purchasing team is actually raising the purchase orders, is raising them at the correct products at the correct rate. So another important point for usually when you measure forecast, or when you compare like forecast and trying to work out forecast accuracy and all the other measures, you need, as a business, you need to agree on a certain lead time of set that's being used. In other words, you can't use forecast that has been provided today. You can't use it like for the comparison that's going to be run in a month's time, because the period is too small for every actually business to react. As a suggestion, it could be, the most common one would be 3 months, because average lead time is like between 60 and 90 days. So it means that whatever changes you're making today to the forecast are going to take impact 3 months later. And that's what you measure. In other words, if we are now on the 1st of May, February, so we are using the data with the forecast that has been provided by sales or brand team, or from the software that has been given on the 1st of February. So you compare that forecast versus the actual sales in May. The other thing would be for demand review. The other purpose would be whether actually the further adjustments, review projections of the forecast going forward, and make up, agree on course of adjustments required, if any. So stakeholders, so this meeting is chaired by demand planners. always. So as always, we got senior management. Now we have got sales and brand who are attending this meeting as a key stakeholders, inventory manager, supply planner, and finance manager. It's important for finance, for finance to be present in the room as well, because it's this tool, this data are used for the business planning, for the finance as well. They can use the data in the cash flow and everything. So for them, it's very important to be there as well and understand what actually projections are used for the purchases, because at the end of the day, it's all, whatever you project you're going to purchase, it's going to end up in your inventories, in your inventory holding. So for the content, you're comparing forecast accuracy. Forecast accuracy can be calculated multiple ways. So you can compare forecast versus sales, divide by forecast, or the other way around. It depends which, but you need to agree as a business which metrics you're using. Obviously, the forecast accuracy is measured by forecast error. The lower the error, the better the forecast accuracy. In industry average, it's around 20%. If 20% error is achieved, that's pretty good. It means that it's pretty workable. So with the forecast accuracy, it can be presented by overall the business, by department, by class, by top products, by ABC class. Of the ABC class is the inventory classification, or also, depending on what your business structure is, you might consider doing it by customer. If you're supplying unique products to customer and customer is providing you forecast, as part of this exercise, you might actually want to measure the forecast, the customer's forecast accuracy as well, if that's the case. The other thing that's being presented is bias by department. Bias is actually a measure showing whether the forecast was undersold or oversold. It's biased by department for the top 10 key SKUs and ABC class and dollar impact. So what is dollar impact? It's actually, if you calculate the bias, in other words, you come up with the unit-wise number of the total number of pieces that has been either over forecasted or under forecasted times unit cost gives you your potential inventory value. Maybe if you have under forecasted, it might not be a big problem. It can be considered as lost sales or missed opportunity. If you have over forecasted, that's going to end up in your books as an inventory value. That's why if you really have this breakdown for the bias by certain categories, by products, by classes and everything, it would actually tell the story 3 or 4 months later why inventory keeps growing for certain key classes. So new lines forecast accuracy, similar method of calculation, only focusing on the new lines. It's up to the business to agree what the range is being to use. However, normally it's like up to first 3 months forecast when the product, after the products are launched. Forecast for the new lines really needs to be reviewed on a very, very thorough basis. Some businesses do it weekly, again, depending on what business you're in. Again, main risk to look at here is whether we need to make any adjustments, whether it's actually new lines are trading below the expectation, not even below the expectation, actually set budget, because every unit that you do not sell ends up in the dollars of inventory that you hold on your shelves. Also, interesting exercise will be to have very nice Excel chart that's showing last 24 months sales and 12 months forward-looking projections for the forecast in this case. And also this is all comparing to the budget for the last years and for the years going forward. If you would visualize this graph now, it would actually tell it's like 36 months of history. So 24 months of history, 12 months of the forecast. It would actually show you all your spikes, all your seasonality. And after that, you would actually see which months you actually got spikes and which months you actually is the downfall. Again, this is all being compared against the budget. So that's what's happening on the demand review. So week 2 as well, ideally. Week 2 have supply review. Some companies that tend to have supply review on week 1. The sooner the better, depending on what reporting is involved, what set of data is required. So obviously, main point for everyone to get together, make sure that everyone fully understands what's going on the supply side of the business, what's happening, how your key suppliers are performing, and what needs to be done about it. For example, what suppliers issues we're having. Are there any production issues that our suppliers are going through? Are there any global component shortage? Are there any issues like with certain product recalls or something in the market that's going to impact like our ability to supply? Are there any shipping delays? Are there any like blanket sailings or something? Or it's always is happening, and that's why it's actually bring all the stakeholders, because you have got sales and brand team in the room, so they are aware about, for example, major like issues with shipping Suez Canal, for example, and yeah, and after that, basically, what are they doing? Are they going to be informing their customers, or how they're going to approach it? The other thing would be for to mention, we have got vendor performance, so we've got all your supplies. Obviously, for business, you have got key supplies, you have got non-major supplies, strategic supplies. It would be good to have some sort of vendor rating system in place to rate those suppliers. And after that, at part of these meetings, go actually review them, have a list, for example, 10 suppliers, split the ratings, and after see whether they're actually improving or not. For I'm going to touch base, I'm going to jump to the content with the vendor performance rating. So the main criteria that can be used like for this as an idea. So for example, length of the production, lead time, how easy is supplier to deal with, order confirmation, lead time, what are the payment terms, whether there are quality issues, how innovative is supplier. So that's just to give you some ideas. And after it's being reviewed, and there would be that's by doing this, you will find opportunities for improvement. To work with your suppliers, actually go and achieve the common goal together. So coming back to the stakeholders, so supply planner is usually the one who will chair the meeting. So we have got the same stakeholders as we had in the demand review, apart from quality, who is attending this meeting as well. So quality is going to prepare their own slide for the supply review. They're going to have their own input. They would highlight quality issues on the key code level base. I'm talking about the top. Plus feedback from market, for example, on certain products that are not performing, certain common issues. You can take it as much detailed as you would like to, whatever is required. So recalls, updates on recalls, any, for example, negotiations, warranty rebate negotiations with suppliers, like any help required from category team or whoever, or sourcing team, whoever owns relationships with suppliers as an option. So with content, so very simple slides. Some first slide going summarize supply issues, shipping issues, everything in one slide. If none, none. Vendor performance, I touched this before. Lead time analysis for your key supplies, it would be good to know. Yep, for example, supply ABC, average production lead time is 10 days, shipping is 20 days. Just to have it on a graph and actually track it every month. Also, default, supplies default can be covered here as well. Quality issues, as I mentioned, also this can be used as a good opportunity to provide updates to the other stakeholders on the progress of the key procurement projects, like, for example, strategic sourcing, change of packaging, lead time reduction, MOQ reduction, or something else. So that's, that would be beneficial for everyone. So with so now we're moving to week 3. We are in the inventory review. So I'll be saying that's the most interesting meeting. So you have got inventory manager is the one who is chairing the meeting. So you have got senior managers, sales, brand, and finance manager attending this meeting. And after that, whatever the actions are, if they're relevant, obviously for the demand and supply planning team, it's getting fed to them for actions. So main purpose for the inventory review is actually go and spend some time together and get through a list of slides that are showing how the business inventory is actually performing. Also, it can include some updates on the KPI trackings, for example, depending on what KPIs each of the stakeholders have. It's all coming back to the business setup. In certain businesses, inventory owns stock in stock terms. in other business, in mature S&OP environment, for example, sales are the one who have got stock turns and stock and inventory value as their KPI. So that's uses as an opportunity to update, to provide update how the teams are tracking. Also, you can look at the stock on hand. It can look at the stock on hand numbers, like stock on the floor, stock at DC, stock in transit. Sometimes, if you really want to go down extra mile, you can also include here, for example, stock at the supplier premises. If you're on the consignment stock with them arrangement, just see the value. Because at the end of the day, all these numbers getting added as one big inventory number that's impacting your cash flow. So, stakeholders, I did cover them. So content. This one would be the most, this one would have the largest number of slides to be presented. So if we look just one after another one, so we have got last 24 months inventory stock on hand in dollars and always in units. Why 24 months? Why we can't go like 3, 6, 12 months? Because usually, again, for the businesses with the long lead time, it's 12 months is the minimum period to have the data recorded. And when you have it on the 24 months or even longer, if it's possible, or even longer, similar to the demand projections, when you just look at the graph and you can see the sales for the past 24 months, you can see the similarities in certain areas, in certain periods. You will see exactly the same pattern in the inventory as well. And when that's why 24 months, it actually gives you very, very good visual representation how your inventory is changing from months to months. The other thing, you can go with monthly buckets, weekly, daily, whatever you would like to. So the data need to be presented on the total level, total inventory for the business. For example, if you're running Australia branch and New Zealand branch, how it should you should have Australian numbers, New Zealand numbers, and after the total ANZ-wide, and that's across all the parameters that you agree to go and present. So total by ABC classification. So very standard one. Every business is using their own classification. Whatever the classes are, you can use like 5 different classes. Whatever the classes are, just have the total inventory number. Normally, it's being taken at the first day of the month, so that's the numbers that are normally being presented, basing stock on hand from accounting books. And after, you can go by category. Plus, you can also go by customer if you need to. For example, you're holding certain key codes for the certain customers based on the agreement. How much is it actually going costing the business? How much is it? What is that number comparing to the average sales numbers, for example, for the customer? Is it actually really worth doing it? And when you put all these numbers on paper, on a very simple graph, it actually tells a lot of stories. So now we have got last 24 months chart, and also, if it's possible, again, if you do not have the software, but all ERPs, they are pretty capable to go and run projections, stock on hand projections for the next 12 months. If not, use Excel. But for the business, for this process to work, you need to be able to run and project what your inventory is going to be. I mean, really project in very, very dynamic environment, or in Excel spreadsheet where you can make changes to demand, when you can make changes to the supply number, and after that is going to go recalculate this every time when you make changes. Otherwise, there always will be gaps between what S&OP number is and what finance number is and what actually the final reported number is. So it's very, very important to actually spend some time on the unified reporting and which number you use as a projected inventory stock on hand in the business. So it can be in dollars and in units, because some businesses, they count everything like in units, dollars. That's why I'm just covering both. So again, the same format as before, total by ABC, by category. So that's overall. So you have got a lot of those slides. Basically, you work with the team, you take them through the slide one by one, add the callouts there. For example, if we have got spike in inventory for the past months, what caused this? For example, we did not meet the budget like in category A for 10%. that if you refer back to the demand review, we will see the buyer's cost as 200 million, whatever, $200,000. That's what explains the increase in the inventory for $200,000 in the same category in this graph. That's type of idea that you should be trying to achieve. Actually, all this, whatever has happened, how it's all flowing down into the books. So review this, take stakeholders through this, have a discussions, and after that move basically to the next. Then next one would be excess inventory. It depends. It's subject to every business how they would like to define excess inventory. However, there should be inventory policy that clearly states what is considered to be excess inventory in the business. For example, it can be you have got minimum stock holding 10 days, maximum stock holding 20 days. Everything that is above 20 days is considered to be excess inventory. Report is being run, dollar value, units, by class, by category, by customer, sky's the limit. You can do it however you like it. The other option would, for example, have months on hand as a threshold to run the threshold for the all inventory that's above, for example, certain months on hand. It's considered to be excess inventory. However, in this case, you have to be very, very careful because as a business and as a stakeholders, you all need to agree what is being used for as a basis for this calculation. Are you using actual sales for the months on hand calculation, or are you using forecast for months on hand calculation? Why? Because if your sales are pretty low and you're using sales for calculation, you look at the forecast, there might be good point from sales team advising, yep, I'm going to sell it later. If you are using only forecasted volumes and the sales are not performing, it might be a good point for inventory team to raise, yeah, but it's not happening. That's why ideal solution would be just use both, because that's what I used to do like in the past and it worked. Because you can, in this case, it's foolproof system. You actually project, yep, now this, for example, this key code or SKU is excess in excess inventory for 200 units, but based on the forecast months on hand for the next 3 months, we're actually going to be selling it in full. So yes, that's why it's not a problem. Again, it's a lot of preparation work that's being involved because someone, in this case, it's inventory manager, who is going through all the numbers on the key code basis, analyzing everything. And after that, basically only the top chunk is being presented. Depending on how many key codes you are working with. For example, I come from very high SKU environment. That's why we were focusing on the top 100. And that was enough. At every certain point, it was enough. It had it led to 1.5 meetings. Each of these meetings were for 1 hour and a half at least, because we were going key code by key code. For certain businesses, if you have got 20 key codes in total, just go review them all. So yeah, the other important thing for the excess inventory. So you look at for the actual one, you also look at the projected. Based on the forecast and the system, depending on what ABC status, ABC class or key code status, whatever it is, whatever you're using as a metrics to identify whether it's top performing, non-performing, active, non-active key codes. Based on this, have a look what the number or the excel of the key codes is going to be, for example, in 3 months time and 6 months time, and you will be surprised that in majority of cases, whatever items already has got a problem is going to have a problem for the next 3 or 6 months. That's what those are, especially if they're the high dollar value one, they're the one that really need to be looked at. They need to be prioritized for these reviews, and sales need to be actually actively participating in clearing those items and providing update in this meeting, how they're going with all the clearances and everything, what are the timelines. Because if finance who are also sitting in this meeting, they can see if we got, for example, $500,000 of the inventory that's not going to go anywhere for the next 6 months, it means that it's going to be sitting as a risk for the business, and that's going to be heavy on the inventory. So finance need to take this into account from the end as well. The other measurement that also will be worth presenting, stock turns. In some businesses it's being done by finance, but normally it's inventory KPI anyway. So stock turns needs to come to agreement how they are going to calculate the stock turns. For example, are you taking into account only stock on the floor, stock on hand, number and divided by average sales, or you're looking at the stock on hand plus stock in transit and divided, for example, and using sales and projected sales as a calculation. So yes, that's very important. Make sure that everyone is very clear with approach, but again, stock turns can be presented. And also last 24 months, it will show you by class, by category, by ABC, by customer, however you like to do it. It will still tell you the story. You will see the months when basically your stock turns are increasing and when your stock turns are decreasing. And after that, it would actually help everyone to make better business decisions. With the other parameter that needs to be presented, it's new product, excess inventory in the new products. Why is it important? Again, in every business, there should be the certain class or status that defines new products. And it's always beneficial to actually have understanding how much, what is the percentage of from the total inventory belongs to the new products. Why? Because no new products, they are potentially the one who will become your A class top selling products, or they become slope. It's good if you track it properly and you do it regularly and you're having this meeting, so there will be no surprise that suddenly you got 10 new products that ended up being as S-class or slope at some stage. So actual value, so you present again actual value split again by ABC, by category, by class, by customer, projected value of inventory, and also have a timeline of the phase-ins. In other words, very simple, have very simple timeline showing, okay, yep, we got 5 million inventory as a basis. And you have got new products landing, for example, worth 1 million landing in January, March, June. Just have it as a graph and what these products are. Because when you will refer back, when you will flag back to the portfolio review, when it will be presented, it would actually, there will be a link between these two, and it would say, yep, we expect this much of inventory landing, for example, in a certain months of the year. And if it's not going to sell through at the rate that we expect to sell it through, it's going to be carried over across all the further months, and potentially it might end up in our books before end of the calendar year, which sometimes our calendar or financial year, which we do not want to sometimes. So that's what's phasing impact in the dollar values. Slow inventory, slow moving and obsolete. So basically, again, similar to the excess inventory, there should be inventory policy in place in the business, what's considered to be slow inventory. As example, it can be, they should be separate class or status that defines these key codes, not mixed with anything else, no additional field applied, nothing. Just very simple. So at every certain point of time, everyone could run a report and see, yep, I got 10% of my inventory is sitting in the slope. We have got a problem here. So as an example, it can be items that haven't sold for more than like 6 months, more than 12 months. Normally, at least it's like 12 months. Or, for example, items that have sold less than 4 times a year. As example, it could be used as a logic. So everyone agrees on the logic, and after we're moving on. So presenting data are covering last 24 months stock on hand, again, in dollars and units. You split it by category, by class, by customer. The key point from this measurement will be actually, okay, have discussions with sales team and brand and get them to commit to what are they doing commit. When I'm saying about commit, there should be this certain timeline. Okay, yep, I have got 10 whatever products in stock that I'm going to clear by a certain day. And if you're running this meeting, so this process regularly, when you will get there, you will see that whether it's actually took place or what additional support is required from the business to actually go and make this happen. So with, I think we got to the end here. So I will just like touch base on the, so the main challenge would be get support from the top heads of the business actually to make sure that this process is running. Tools that can be used. There are a lot of softwares available in the market, a lot of that you can run pretty good reports, very easy to understand. But the starting point could be for the small size business, Excel, it still works. Excel, as long as you have got very clear picture in mind, what you're trying to achieve and how it all should look, it should not be, you can also do it in Excel. However, it always helps to have the proper, if you're running proper demand planning function, and I'm saying you're not doing forecasting in Excel, it's good to have the software that actually has got that allows you to pre-build all these templates for the S&OP, because when it comes to the forecast accuracy, the software would actually, you can run multiple calculations based on this 3 months lead time, offset 6 months, 9 months, whatever, and every time when you make changes, you can actually track it. So yes, that's would be the other challenge. Basically, a lot of people, they get a little bit like push back, like with their thinking, I need like a lot of softwares actually go get this done. No, just go and get started, get this done, and see how the process works. And the other thing is obviously the mindset. As a challenge could be the mindset, because it's not the everyone works together as a team. That's very important. Again, it has to be brought down from the top down, that we all work here as a team. That's not the exercise, go and find the issues or what went wrong. It's actually about understanding, okay, what are we trying to achieve and what went off track, why, and what are we doing about it as a team. So yeah, I think I'm done here, unless you have got any questions. I'll hand it over to Shushma.
Thanks, Evgenia. I see we have not received any questions yet. Can we wait for a couple of minutes so that if anyone wants to ask any questions? Please use the Q&A box if you have any questions.
No questions, I assume.
Evgenia, can we wait for a couple of minutes, please?
Yes.
Perfect. Thanks. Everyone, if you have any questions to ask, please use the Q&A box. Evgenia is here to answer all your questions. Oh, we have one. Evgenia, we have one question.
Okay. Hear about the pre-S&OP and management review stages. Can you provide an overview of this? Oh, all right. Okay, so pre-S&OP and management review, so it will be for the mature S&OP environment. So that's when you have got your executive S&OP and everything. However, I can cover that as well. So normally it includes similar structure, but normally before every meeting that I have covered, you are having the pre-meeting. You share the presentations beforehand, and everyone is expected to pre-read the presentations and come to the meeting, not to go through the slides one by one, actually go and discuss the points. And after that, all this basically, you like when you talking about this like level of S&OP, it's you're dealing with exceptions. It's the standard that, yep, you got the presentation, everyone has read it, everyone knows where you're going, what doesn't look right. So also another phase would be here. So you collate all the information before the meeting. So before the demand review, for example, you have got the pre-meetings, you got like everyone's secretaries attending and everything. And after that, there is a packet, the documents, the summary document is being shared to be discussed at the demand review. So in other words, if in basic S&OP environment, you go through the slides, like in the meeting, and you discuss them and you go through your comments and the slides. In the mature environment, the one that you are asking about, it's actually you go through the notes from the slides already, and after that you cover the up. And after that, all these notes, everything being summarized in one-page document. I should actually have mentioned this. at the in the first slide. It's being summarized in one-page document where you can see one very, very nice slide that's showing, yep, that's our supply issues, that's our market trends, that's our like demand performance, in other words, forecast performance, that's our inventory issues, and these are our risks. You got all this one-page document, the one that's being shared with the executive team. So, and that's when they actually come to the meeting. So yes, that's overview on pre-S&OP and management review stages. Basically, if in non-mature environments, managers are the one who actually come to the meeting and review the slides. But in more mature environments, you got like I would be saying like planner level or like lower level, like linear staff actually going and doing all the preparation, doing all the slides, and after the managers, they just do pre-review, and after that they come to the meeting to review their pinpoints. So yes, that would be the main difference. But it's actually like I was like in my practice, I was exposed to this mature S&OP process. It was actually with executive review and pre-executive review. It was like up to the stage, like basically like if the question is being asked at the meeting and it was already in the presentation, it gets like escalated basically, because expectation is that everyone reads the presentations and has the questions before they come to the meeting. That's why it was very interesting. I might cover them on one of my next webinars if there would be some. So yes, because that's completely different world. So yeah. Okay, so that's one question. We got another one. Okay, all right.
More questions.
Okay, oh my God. All right. All right, so how can we automate some of the process by utilizing AI or Power BI? Okay, fantastic question. So Power BI, because again, I started with all this S&OP process before there was Power BI. So it was Excel, but now obviously with Power BI, you build one report, you refresh it every like whatever, for example, first of the month, it gives you the data, copy paste into the presentation, or just go straight into the presentation. That's how you can use it. With but you need to set them all up, all the filters and everything. Again, with certain forecasting tools or ERP systems, they got straight input into the Power BI. That's why it can be very, very powerful. And actually, like honestly, in the recent like couple of years, we switched using into the Power BI reporting fully, like into the Power BI, all the presentations based on the data fed from multiple sources. So yes, that's how you use it. I personally wouldn't be recommending going and get AI asking the questions. Can you please summarize for me what's going on if forecast accuracy is declining? What's going on with the inventory? I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, but the first step would be actually go start getting reporting on track, and Power BI will be a very powerful tool, yes, for these tasks. That's the automation, and this would actually save a lot of your time if you automate this via the Power BI. All right, okay. Okay, what's the best way to build support for the S&OP process in the business? Okay. Get support from the top management, obviously. As I mentioned a number of times, it's number one success factor for the whole process to be successful. So how you can do it? You need to understand the importance. If you just simply, for example, let's imagine you have no S&OP in the business, yes. If you would just use this presentation as a basic, just get some numbers together. And when you will show, when you present a couple of slides that will show, okay, because it has been over forecasted by 2 million units every month, and now we're overstocked by 6 million units or whatever dollars, or as a result of this. And because basically we knew it's coming, but we did not have enough data and we did not have the process actually to address this. We could have avoided this, but we didn't. Now we are where we are. But if we will do this process going forward, that's how we can actually eliminate the business risks. It's explaining the importance of the process for the business and the benefits that it would bring. That's obvious for the supply. It's called sales and operations planning for a reason. And actually, like it's sales and operations planning. It's very basic. It's moved like to the integrated IBP, integrated business planning. Like in the last couple of years. That's the next stage. So that's why all companies, they should already be running sales and operations planning. So to answer your question, I would just say, get the basics, show the savings that could have achieved, but were not achieved, and that they can be, what can be done going forward if that process is followed. Because in majority of cases, sales are not aware about upcoming supply issues. Sales are not aware about the clearance items that they need to be focusing on. They're focusing on something, but they're not focusing on those that really matter. Matter based on what? Dollar value, longevity, for example, short life cycle. Like market trend has changed, you got the old, whatever model in stock, you need to be getting rid of it. So that's the things that basically just the whole idea of this, it's communication and getting everyone on track. And just make sure that everyone on the same page with what the priorities are and how they execute it. So that would be, that's how I would answer for that question. So do you have examples of S&OP documents such as slides that can be shared? So basically I tried, because obviously all slides that that have got the data in them, so which I couldn't share. That's why, if you would just refer to the content columns for each of them, you can actually go and get the data together from your company and just see where it will get you. However, if you run into any issues and just can't figure it out, I can send me a message. So yes, Shushma has got my contact details. So yes, and yeah, we'll see I'll see what I can do, but I can just use the domain numbers. But yes, it's normally the charts that actually just the content that I have put in letters. So yes, that's what I would answer. Do you have any other questions? No. Okay, we're done with this one. I think we're done. Shushma?
Do we have any questions? Any more questions? If you want to ask questions, please ask your questions. Evgenia is still here to answer the questions. Anyone? I think we do not have any questions now. All right. Thank you so much, Evgenia, for this amazing presentation. I'm sure our attendees would have learned a lot from this presentation. And thank you so much to all for joining us in this webinar. And I hope you found this shared information useful and insightful. Remember to apply the knowledge gained in your work and share it with others. The webinar recordings will be shared with you and uploaded to our ASCI YouTube channel in a few days. Don't forget to check out the website for more resources and upcoming events. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And thank you so much, Evgenia, for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.